Welcome back to the Just Build Baby Studio. You're listening to the BuildX Podcast. I'm your host, Buzz Artiano. Today, we're excited to have Blair and Will in studio with us. Blair and Will are the co-owners of Setting the Space with 20 years of experience in home staging and design. Blair and Will, welcome to the show.
We're so excited.
Thanks, Buzz.
We are so excited to be here. It's crazy.
Yep, so we're back. So the same day, we're back in studio. We just toured your unbelievable showroom in downtown Plymouth. Fantastic. And then as we were talking off camera, we're obviously going to go see some of your other stores. So tell us just if you can take a few minutes and tell us how you got started, prior to owning Set of the Space, and maybe just take a few minutes and bring us, individually up to speed, and then we'll talk about Setting the Space.
You want to tell my funny story? You want me to?
Go ahead.
Of course. So literally this year does mark our 20th year anniversary in being in business, which, as I said to you earlier, blows my mind. Where does that time go?
Right.
And when we stop to think about what we have today and how we started, it's actually a very interesting story. And the company did start as a home staging company, and it happened back in 2006, when if I had looked at you, even as a builder, and said, do you know what home staging is? Yeah, no, of course, you would say absolutely
100%.
not. Right.
Yeah.
So I got a phone call from a friend of ours, and she said to me two things. She said, would you like to take a course? It's out in Maryland. And she said, it's about home staging. And I looked at it and I said, I would love to go to Maryland. I said, I don't know what home staging is. And that's the truth about it.
Yeah.
So she and I went out and we took literally a 3-day course. And I thought it was the most absurd thing ever. We're going into someone's house. And to me, it was simple. Number one, we're literally decluttering a house that people are living in, but they want to put it on the market to sell.
Sure.
So me as the leader, I took the group and I just started doing the thing. And then 3 days later, the woman who taught the course looked at me and she said, Blair, someday you're going to have a successful home staging company. And I said, no. I said, not only am I not going to have it, but nobody in this room is going to have it. I said, you do talk about business. And I said, there's a level of business.
Sure.
So she said to me, just do me one favor. She said, we've already started a staging website, and it's all over, we started a staging website, and of course it's all over the United States. I mean, it's all over the world. It's a website. But she said, all you need to do is come up with a name. And she said, and then we even have pictures and everything. It's almost like a do-it-yourself thing.
Like a white box.
Exactly. Yeah. And of course, I went home and I didn't do it. And, a couple months later, I finally did it. We came up with the name Setting the Space. We did this. And our first phone call was from Toll Brothers. And Toll Brothers called me and they said, we are interviewing 13, I don't even know where that number came from, 13 stagers on the phone. And I'm thinking to myself, 13 stagers in Massachusetts that nobody knows what staging is, good luck.
Right.
And they said, we learned from the Midwest, one of our developments out in the Midwest is using stagers, and we're finding that it's really helping sell our homes.
People can see themselves living there.
Yeah. So I talked on the phone and must have done something to impress them, and I was one of 6 now. I've been narrowed down to 6 people. I was like, okay, I'm so excited. So right? You remember that. So I go out to the middle of nowhere, which is, I don't know, it wasn't further than that, but in the middle of nowhere. And I sat in a room sort of like this, and I had all these people staring at me, and they're asking me questions, and I'm just explaining. And this one woman looks at me and says, you're our new stager. I'm like, great. And she said, you're the only one who knew what they were talking about. So me and my funny wisdom went outside, and I literally threw up. Like, I was all excited that I really got nervous, and I threw up. And I do have to be careful of that story because that story follows me wherever I go. So when I'm on stage talking about staging to all these stagers and I talk that story, everybody knows because I'm the guy who threw up. Well, I never threw up ever again, so let's not even continue there. Anyhow, we get our first job, and basically what's happening is, as you know, Toll Brothers are building developments, and they are taking people who sign a contract that's going to be just ready for them to build a house. And of course, people have a house to sell, so they would pay me, so Toll Brothers would pay me, and we would go into the customers' homes, and we would help them stage their house. And that's kind of how the whole staging business started.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it was cool. And again, to me, it was easy. And then the challenges came. And challenges can be very interesting. So the challenges came of, oh, well, we need rental furniture. We need other furniture because their sofas were old. So we're trying to fix their house up using their existing furniture, but it looks dated. So we had to figure out, now what do we do? So we literally found Court Furniture, which is a corporate furniture rental company that people may have temporary housing or something to that effect, right? And again, you got to remember, this is 20 years ago, so this isn't today. And the furniture that they even had to stage with, and of course they weren't renting it to stagers because they didn't even know what staging was. So we started renting their furniture, and we then went to, thank God there were Home Goods, we went to Home Goods, and we would go shopping at Home Goods, and we would take their ugly furniture, make it look beautiful because we're bringing on all the
accessories.
So one day, in the Toll Brothers, by being in the building, there's always a model home, obviously.
Sure.
Okay, so if you think about it, a model home was really staged. So staging was kind of existing, but nobody knew the term of staging. So their model homes, they were paying in the upwards of at least $100,000 to a designer to bring in all kinds of furniture, and they would do quirky stuff. And I understood it, like they would take the kid's bedroom and they would take the closet door off and they would make it a little theater.
Drum studio.
Yeah, a drum studio.
That's crazy.
There was always a room where people were, a sewing room back then. They were always doing weird stuff. And their theory was that even though it's weird, if someone comes through their house, they might remember that weird thing. So that was all of that story. So one day they asked us, could we do a model home? So I said yes. No, I should have thrown up, but we did get over that part of it, right? So then I come home and I said to Will, good news, we're doing a model home and they need something called mood boards. And
mood boards.
Mood boards.
Yeah.
And you looked at me and said, what's a mood board?
Anyway, we did an amazing mood board.
But we didn't have Google. Google was
nothing.
We didn't really have Google to ask Google.
Just had your talent, raw
There
talent.
you go. That's what it is.
Well, and a little bit of a brain.
Sure.
So a friend of ours.
The will is a way.
There you go.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Well, there's a
Literally.
will.
Yeah.
He-
We have a
he
good
got
friend that
one
used to
quick.
say that.
That's right.
Fred's gone now.
Yeah, I know, but he loves saying that to you. So we had a friend who was in the design business, and we asked her what mood boards were. And I said, never mind. I said, let's just pay you to do these mood boards. So she showed us how to do the mood boards. Long story short, we go to present. We're up against, of course, 2 or 3 other houses. And the other problem is we weren't buying wholesale because we didn't know how to buy wholesale back then. So we had to give a price based on, we would be going out and buying retail. We didn't know what we were doing. The bottom line is we had absolutely no idea what we were doing, but we went, I remember this like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
We presented,
Blew their socks off.
blew them out of the water when they saw what we were doing. And we started doing stuff differently, right? You know what we were doing? We were actually making it feel real. So in other words, the reason why I told you that their model homes would have a kid's puppet theater, or they would have a music room, or they would have all this weird stuff, is because that wasn't real.
No.
Okay, the people who were buying there, so we started doing stuff how people live. Simple concept.
Imagine
right?
that.
I know.
Yes.
And lo and behold, we get a phone call. We've chosen you. Your design was so amazing.
That's awesome.
And they said, but there's only one little problem. Your price is higher than everybody else. And I said, oh, so would you mind coming down $5,000 and we'll give you the job? I said, done. So our pricing that we didn't know what we were doing, we were right on par with
There
it.
you go.
And we got our first model job, right? And this is how the business grew, right? Everything we were doing, when I go on stage, I always tell everybody, don't say no, because that closes a door, right?
Sure.
So if you say yes to an opportunity, you have a fighting chance to figure it out and get the opportunity. But the second you say no, that opportunity is gone. So of course I would
You
say,
got to be in it to win it.
you've got to be in it to win it,
Amen.
right? So go ahead, you want to?
No, keep going.
I know.
You're doing great.
I know, but you can interject, you know. You know I like
But
to.
wait, so
Yeah.
so I love that story, but I want to go back further. So
Ooh.
how did you know that you wanted to, how did you develop this flair that you have for all the things that you do? Where does that come from?
I mean, that started for me anyway, when I was like 5 years old. I was just doing. I went to school to be a dentist, so
A dentist?
undergrad.
Really?
And I didn't have that side of my head. I just couldn't do chemistry. And
Yeah.
So what I could do was make this look like pretty, like, right? Anything in the house. So
that's just a natural talent you always had. And it's something you've always been interested
I
in.
truly believe you can't really teach that or learn it.
No, I
I don't really ever say that.
No, 100%.
We know many interior designers who have years of schooling, and they're not all that.
Yeah.
And I'm not being negative.
No, listen, there are people that have natural talents.
That's truly what
Right? And for myself, I just stick to my natural talents. And when I need design help, that's why I came to see you guys, right?
What is it?
Because I was...
9 out of 10 people. This applies to staging.
Well, so one of our
Wait. So you had the natural talent. Where's your talent?
My natural talent. So my natural talent was entrepreneurship. So when I was in 5th grade, so what was I, 11 years old?
Yeah.
When I was in grade school, it seemed to be that I could start developing ideas of being an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And in 1978, we had a blizzard.
Yeah,
Was it?
I remember it.
78. So I was whatever. I don't know how old I was. Do the math. So anyhow, we're all snowed in. It's the first and only time that you can't buy groceries. You can't do this. You can't do that. And I took a sled and I went to the grocery store and I stayed outside the grocery store while the people were going through the snow. And of course, I charged them all of 50 cents. God only knows what it was back then. Yeah. So my whole entrepreneurship, and then I too have this innateness for, especially I love organizing. Organizing has been in my brain. I don't know why. I'm extremely organized. And one of the companies, as we were starting saying the space, was an organizational thing, right? We would go into people's homes and I could literally organize their closets and their pantries and all of that stuff. And I think that's sort of what we were kind of doing prior to really doing the design aspect. And then when the evolution of setting the space started and our teammanship, because we had to figure out what were we going to do? How does one live together and how does one survive by working together and not killing each other? I think everybody can understand that part.
Yeah, understood.
So we learned, although I can stage a house and I can do all the design work, I was better at working with the customers. I'm better at the selling of the customers. I'm better at the organizing. And then he gets to do exactly what's in him, is just make it look beautiful and just do all that. But the question you're asking us, which is true, you can't learn that.
Yeah.
You just can't. It's either in you or it's not in you.
100%.
And to your point exactly, we've had interns who have come into the store and they're in college and they want to intern with us. And it's like they don't have an ounce of design in them. And no matter what we try to do, you can't teach that. It's this innate thing, right?
Yeah, there's some things that are just baked into your psyche, your personality, your natural talents.
Right. That's what it
was. So we finished our first model home.
Yeah.
And with Yahoo, right?
Yeah, blew them away.
So now, take me to the evolution. So now you're like, okay, this is a business. At that point, you realized it was a business.
But 3 years, this is how I remember what little I remember. So for the first, and this is crazy stuff, I think, but for the first 3 years, so we did the model home.
Yep.
The stories that we have and who we have worked for are absolutely insane. We got a phone call. So after we did the model, I told you we were working with Court Furniture at the time, and we had a salesperson, we had a representative, and she was the top #1 selling person of rental furniture in the world, out of all their Court Furniture. And she was our designated person that we worked with. And she loved us because we were renting tons of stuff because we started staging and staging and staging. So one day, it's always that infamous phone call, right? One day we get the phone call and she says to us, I have a big, huge problem. She said, we have rented furniture in a condo in Boston. It was in the Ritz in their private condos. And she said, they hate it. And they have called up and said they need to take it all out. She said, I'm going to lose all my commission. I'm going to lose this. I'm going to lose that. She said, I know you guys have the ability to take the ugly furniture, because it was ugly, and make the whole thing beautiful.
Make it work.
So I said, yeah, we can definitely do that. So she said, here's the contact. It was this woman, here's the contact. I went and met with her. We had just come home from vacation, right? We literally just come home from vacation. I drove into Boston. I get to the Ritz, and this woman meets me, and we are in this beautiful condo with floor-to-ceiling windows, room after room after room after room, and it's all they had done is brought in the ugly furniture, and there's no decoration.
Yeah,
right?
nothing
There's
tied
no
together.
lamps, there's
Yeah.
nothing.
Soul.
It had no soul.
No soul.
So she said to me, you come highly recommended. And I'm thinking, how do I come highly recommended? Where did this come from? It's such a... So I'm like, yes, I do, right?
Yeah.
Of course I do.
Thank you.
right?
Of course I
Thank
do.
you.
Yeah.
She brings me down to the concierge. This is Mr. Blair. You will allow him in here at any time of the day or night. He will park the car here. You'll bring him up. You'll let him in. You'll let him do his thing. And I'm listening to this woman. I'm like, I don't know who you are, and you don't know who we are. But all of a sudden, you're giving me the keys to the city, right? And
Right.
it really was the keys to the city at that point. And then along with it, her challenge was that she needed window treatments.
Yeah.
You know how bad of a challenge that was? That was
Big windows are
and then-
tough.
big windows are tough. Do you know how many days we had to do this?
We had a week.
A week.
yeah.
Again, we don't even know who this woman is.
Yeah.
There's no money. There's no talk of price. There's
Right.
nothing. So I come home, and at the time we had one dog, right? We had Bentley, a little mini dachshund. So I've got Bentley. So we grab Bentley. We go back into Boston in the middle of the night, right? Because we had to
Look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get going.
Yeah, of course. And here we are in the middle of the night. So the store...
This is fashion 911
This
emergency.
is fashion 911 emergency. So there's a store, or was a store, on Newbury Street in Boston that we knew of, and they sold custom ready-made drapes.
Really?
Now, where did that come from? I don't even know how I saw this, but
Yeah.
in my head, somewhere in my mind, I knew this. So anyhow, Saturday morning, we go in, and the goal is that we go there, and then we're to meet this woman again and present to her
Your
what we did.
idea.
So we walk into this, and this is 19 years ago. So I'm not talking about today.
Understood.
Couldn't do anything on Amazon.
Right.
We had to go in. So we walk into the store. I said, you, and you. I said, ignore everybody else. I said, we need an emergency 911. Okay. I said, we need this help. And they're looking at me like, who are you? And I'm thinking to myself, who am I? So I said, Will is going to tell you what he wants. You're going to tell me how fast we can get this. You're going to tell me the price, and you're going to bag the samples. And we're going to do this in 30 minutes because that's really all we have. And this is the most truth I can tell you at this point. Boom. So this one does this, this one does this, this one does this, this one does this. We get the car, we're in the car. I'm on the phone with them 5 minutes later. How much is this going to cost? What do you have in stock? Now, I know that they have 3 locations, Newbury Street, one in New York, and one in Paris. Okay, there's 3 locations. Whatever you have to do, you're going to have to do. So anyhow, she gives us the price. We have the beautiful fabrics. We go and meet this woman. I love everything. You've hit it on the nose. I'm like, well, that's good because this is the only thing in stock.
That works out.
Now I have to tell her this price. Now, again, we're not in business.
Right. Yeah.
So I had to tell her something to the effect that this was costing $25,000. I don't know who she is, but I know they're renting out an expensive.
Sure. And at the time, that seemed like all the money in the world to you.
Well, it's because it wasn't.
I understand.
Right?
Yeah. It's all perspective, right?
Right.
She said, done.
Yep.
I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
Well, who is she? Her client was the 92nd richest person in the world.
Wow. Oh, so she didn't even live in the unit. She was quarterback.
She was the handler.
She was
the
quarterback.
handler, yeah.
Got it.
He was what are their names? The
Cisneros.
The Cisneros. The Cisneros. He's the 92nd richest person in the world. His wife, his second wife, has a rare blood cancer disease that needs to come to
the hospital.
Yeah, and she needs to stay in comfort.
Yeah.
So now I get on the phone. Oh, she says to me, do you have a credit card? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't think I have a $25,000 limit. She said, we'll be taking care of the bill. And we're just like, oh my God, we're going to do whatever she says. And this was back in the time where you literally could call Visa or MasterCard and you could just say to them, I need an updated limit, a new limit. And they didn't ask who you are, what you are. They were giving out money because, what was it, 15%?
Interest.
In your bill or something,
Yeah,
right?
crazy interest.
So all of a sudden, I've got a magical $25,000 on a credit card that we can't pay. So they're trusting me. So we call them up, we tell them what we need. And that's when they said, oh, the computer says we have one in New York and we have one in Paris. I said, it doesn't matter. I said, you can FedEx overnight anything. And I said, we will be there Monday morning to pick everything up. Boom, it's done. Anyhow, the story gets crazier. I made a million other stories. I know, if it all out. So long story short, we get this going, then we get all of the window treatments, and we have to do everything else. And it was impossible for us to get up on these ladders and figure it out. So I went back to the store and I said to this girl, I said, do you know how to do this stuff? And she said, I do. And I said, what do you get paid? And back then it was probably $3 an hour, right? It was probably $8 an hour, who knows? So I said to her, I said, we will triple your pay. I said, tomorrow you need to call in sick. Where does this crap come from? So she said, I said, you need to call in sick. I said, we're going to pay you literally triple your salary and we pay you cash, whatever. Yeah. And she did, and she came, she did it. Well, anyhow, we took the old crappy looking furniture. We went to Home Goods. We just kept doing and doing and doing. And we turned this place into a model. And she didn't lose her account. The woman, the handler, is now telling us all the secrets. You know, these people are.
Yeah.
And her clothes were going to be flown in, and her clothes are all private labels. There's nothing all handmade.
Yeah.
We had to take care of them. We had to, they had a mixed family. So his kids, her kids, we had family photos. We had to take the photos that they were sending us and we had to frame them so it would match.
Sure.
We had to stop.
Reframe.
The detail, right?
A lot of detail, and all came down to color for me because of one of those pictures had President Bush in it.
Yeah.
With the daughter who was in bright pink.
Yes.
So I played up that all over the place. And that was a little story, but stuff like that made a difference.
But it wasn't a silly story because that was the attention to detail that you always did.
They put real lavender plants in her bedroom because lavender is very healing. We had
I did not know that.
We applied big thick insulating panels to doors so that she didn't hear a sound. The detail was crazy.
We're doing things that we don't know that we know how to do.
Absolutely.
And we blew everyone away. And
then we did flowers.
Then he did fresh flowers because he had brought fresh flowers in. And then they gave him an account with fresh flowers. Your budget, there is no budget. Just every time she comes in, you'll know she's coming. You just
set it up.
Oh yeah, the whole thing. And
I did trees in the foyer that act up to the 10-foot ceilings. It was crazy.
And then we were done. We had it done in a week. We were done, and we went on to our staging projects. And I get a phone call from her name, it was Gabriella, and she said, "Are you sitting down?" And I said, "We're actually at Home Goods getting ready for our next project." And I said, "Why? What's up?" And she said, well, now I'm going to tell you. And that might have been the time she told us he was the richest man. She said, you did the impossible. And she said, and my clients knew it was impossible. When they went in, they were so blown away. They were shocked, right?
Wow.
And she said, you just made my job look good.
Yep.
She said, they're so impressed with me. And then that's when she said, you're going to get the flower account, you're going to get this, you're going to get that, you're going to do all of this. I mean, it was crazy.
Crazy time.
Yeah. But so and I know you know this, but I'm going to point this out to you. That all started with, you had a vision and you went for it, right? And just because you didn't know how to do it, you figured it out.
Right.
Right?
Just do it. So Nike stole my saying, just do it. Yes.
They got the money, you got the slogan.
I got the slogan, and that's what I tell everyone.
So that's an interesting part of entrepreneurship, and that's actually when I started this whole, podcast, YouTube channel, whatever you want to call it, or just Build Baby Studio. I had a different vision of what these sessions were going to be about, and for me, this is actually the most fun is hearing the history of the people and how they started their company and how it grew and, those stories like, you're up against the fence, like We got 7 days to get this done. We don't have a credit card. You know, we got to figure this out. We got a picture with pink in it. We're trying to make this work, right? I mean, you put that together. That's like it's like a little mini series, right? So that's fun. Like that's stuff like I can relate to, and that's what I really. That's so far. This is for me. This is the most fun part. So, so now we've got some serious projects under our belt. So let's explore how you went from. Because again, when a long time ago, I'm going to say this is 10, 12 years ago. I had to do a model home for me over in, I think it was Rockland, but don't hold me to that. And then I always just thought of you as, a staging company. And then I saw that you had opened a store. I don't remember what the first one was. The first
in Main Street, where you were today.
Yeah, I don't think I even knew about that one. I saw you when you were over by Colony Place. And it was over by Aldi's over there, right? I mean, Alden Park was over by Alden Park.
Yep.
Right? And I said, oh, what's going on there? And I went in and I'm like, wow, this is unbelievable. And then, that I didn't really have any, need of your services. And then, so take me from we're staging and then all of a sudden we open your first storefront. Tell me how, I know we talked about it briefly at the walkthrough, but just kind of give me a little more context to that.
So,
because that's a big move going from.
We didn't want to do it.
No.
Yeah.
No intention.
No. So I had been in retail all my life. That was my background. Back in the 80s, I was selling water beds. Then I ended up being in family-owned furniture companies. So the furniture part became part of my blood.
Got it.
But never, ever in a million years was I ever going to go back into retail. There was absolutely no way that was going to happen. And one day, and this is how the story goes with everything. It's either a phone call, someone approaches us with, it's never us approaching them, it's them approaching us,
sure.
Which is, of course, you understand that. So we were approached, and it was very simple. The landlord who owns Main Street, we always have had some type of warehouse along the line where our staging furniture was.
Sure.
So he apparently...
Yeah, I think you were over in South Meadow Road for a while, right?
For a long time, yeah. So he had come into wherever it was, maybe South Meadow at the time, and he saw that, to him it was used furniture, right? So we sell used furniture. So he had a vacancy where we are in downtown Plymouth, and he approached me to open a store. Now, his feeling was, when he asked us, is he thought we would put our staging furniture in there.
Right.
And I think at the time in downtown Plymouth, there were all kinds of secondhand stores.
Yeah.
It's only one left, I think, but there's tons of them. So that was it was just his thought. I mean, that's all it was, is his mind. In my mind, never would I have done that, because I had been in the retail industry and we were already working with people on the design level, and we had already started having wholesale accounts. So that's when we decided to open the first furniture store, if you will. And at the time, it was going to be furniture. And the tour that we took for today, we only had the first floor. We had a little access to downstairs, but not as much as you've seen. And we didn't have any access upstairs. That was a wall up there. So we only had a very small part, and we only dealt with just the main level that you were in. And when we first opened, we literally had, a beautiful sofa and a beautiful dining chair and a beautiful this and a beautiful that. And when people started walking in and they're just seeing the furniture and they're looking at the prices, because we didn't do affordable furniture. We weren't going that route. We were going, mid to high end furniture and custom and all that stuff, because that's really where we wanted to be. And people were running out. Like, they would walk in and they'd run right out, because they're looking at, a $5,000, maybe a $2,000 sofa, a $3,000 sofa, thinking, who are these people? I want to buy a sofa for $499. So we really would have closed, but I noticed that because we're in Plymouth, we're getting tons and tons and tons of traffic, right?
It's been walking in
from everywhere. I mean, you got tourists coming, right?
All over the world.
So I said to him,
they all went to the Plymouth Walk, looked down, shook their head and said, wow. Yeah, and they were, wow, that's very disappointing. And then they came to your store.
And they thought, this is disappointing. You've got a big store here, and I'm not buying anything. So I said, what do we do? We're either going to just have to close. And then I said, you know what? What if we start bringing in stuff, like whatever the stuff was? And same situation. We didn't know where to go to buy wholesale for the stuff. So we learned that in Atlanta is one of the bigger gift shows. So we head out to Atlanta, and we're going through miles and miles and miles of showrooms. And I'm like, what are we going to buy? How much do we buy? What are we going to buy? And, you start doing a little quick research, and the research is simple. Start talking to human beings. Start talking to people, and they start to tell you, oh, you should go buy this, you should go buy this, you should go buy this. So we did, and we started bringing it in, and then the concept changed. As opposed to having a dining room table where we might have plates to make it look pretty, we were taking lanterns and candles and all kinds of inexpensive or affordable stuff that people would grab. And that's how the concept started. And at one point, that showroom was chock full. I mean, people loved to come into the store because it was jammed with stuff. Right? Remember when we used to do
but
that?
then they did start to see the furniture, and then we got that following of people who didn't mind spending.
Right, because it didn't scare them because they could have bought. They
I'll never
didn't.
forget the first piece of art we sold was $9.99. $999.
It's not funny.
And I'm like,
And we must have died.
yeah, that's
Yeah, because we never thought we would ever sell stuff like that.
then it's
And then it continued. But I'll tell you, here's the fun fact. How many stores, here's the question, how many stores did we own at once? How many locations? Okay. So what was happening was we were getting phone calls from all of these commercial realtors saying, we have an empty storefront. And, what was starting to happen is, let's take Colony Place for a second. So Colony Place, people were going out of business. The perception of people were that literally the whole Colony Place was going to go out of business.
Correct.
Right? So someone came up with a good idea. We need to rent these as a temporary spot. So we need to get somebody in here. And basically what they would do is they wouldn't charge us rent. They would just charge us a percentage of what we sold.
Got it.
So it was a win-win for us.
And
Now,
for them, activity breeds activity.
of course, now with us, we're not like a conventional furniture company where they may buy twice a year. We constantly buy. I was telling you in the store, what happened is you want this mug, you can buy it. You want this desk, you can buy it. You want that table, you can buy it. So our buying mode is that we're always having stuff come in, and then we have a warehouse with new stuff. So if today 4 things are sold out of Main Street, the guys are going to bring in and replace those 4 things with something completely different. So we don't have backup stock. So Colony Place evolved. After Colony Place evolved, we get a phone call from Mashpee down the Cape. You don't know who I am. I know who you are. And I'm like, okay, will you take this over? Mashpee was number 3. And I don't even remember half the stores we've had. Number 4, 5, 6.
Somerville.
We ran, at one point, we had 8 retail stores going crazy. Wow. Now,
Derby Street.
Derby Street, yep. We ended up in Boston at one point, in Somerville. So we've got 8 stores going. It's busy, it's crazy. The economy is, because again, don't forget 2006 and then along the way, and the economy was just booming long before COVID. All of these stores were jam-packed. We're selling. Help is easy to get, not like today. Help is easy to get. And then the rug is pulled out, COVID hits. And then at that time, it was time to close some of the stores. But it was also, and then what was happening is all of these stores were quick pop-ups. But what was Colony Place, 7 years? Like, that was a pop-up store.
We were there a long time. Yeah.
They never wanted us to leave because they didn't have anybody who wanted to come in.
Understood.
It was weird. So anyhow, we had 8 stores running at one time. Yeah. That was a big conglomeration for us.
That was crazy.
Yeah. And we look back now as time has gone by and think, how do we do it?
Too much.
It was too much. Not only doing that, running retail, running interior design, running the staging business. That's a lot of businesses in our.
Yeah.
Managing employees.
Oh my God. Bananas.
But I want, so there's a recurring theme in there, right? So you got a phone call and you figured it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Always.
So you started with the furniture. You said this isn't working. So you pivoted, added some, accessories, if you will.
Yep.
Right. And then that you saw that was taking off. And now I'm walking through the Main Street store and, all those vignettes or things that you're doing all are from stories that you hear from customers. Hey, what about this? What about that?
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. So now we have how many stores right now?
Oh no, now it's good. So we have Main Street Plymouth.
Yep.
We have downtown Falmouth. So those are really the two real retail stores. Then somewhere along the line, we always decided to have a clearance outlet because that made sense.
Sure.
So
after you stage, if you use the
Yeah.
piece a few times, then you say, okay, we want to rotate this out. We're going to sell it at a discount,
Yeah, right.
and then we're going to bring in new stuff.
So South Meadow, we literally had an area, well, it was really the whole warehouse, right, that we opened as our clearance warehouse. And man, when we are on the radio and we advertise clearance warehouse, the traffic is nuts.
Really?
Oh, because everybody, look,
Everybody likes a deal.
well, you need, and there are people who need the deal.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
In other circumstances, right?
Yeah.
So, and then,
Or they need furniture fast.
Yep.
well, that too. So we
Right.
always have furniture, no matter what. And then just recently, we had the opportunity to take over the old Best Buy at the Kingston Collection Mall. Now we have 20-something thousand square feet, which is good for a furniture store, right? And it could even be bigger because that place gets jammed pretty fast with the stuff, right?
Yep.
And there we have that as our new outlet. And the warehouse is still open, but it's much better to go to the Kingston.
Got it.
And that's it. So we're down to just that. But that isn't to say that when that phone rings and someone's got another opportunity and I'm feeling good, then I'm ready.
I think I'm going to have to put a safety pin on you.
Yeah. Right?
I'm going to have to install a fail-safe device.
I do say no much more. So people who know me, I would always say yes. I'm like, yeah, now it's now.
Yeah.
I'm going to
It's
say,
got to feel right.
oh God,
Yeah.
that is enough, right?
So that's a fantastic story, and I really love having you guys in studio. So I'm going to pivot a little bit. Now we're going to talk about my favorite subject, which is accessory dwelling units. Right? So, again, very similar. Phone call from a past customer, friends from 20-something years ago, and said, hey, we really need to take care of our son. How can we do it? And, we started the first ADU in Plymouth, and that led to having open houses and 65 different families coming through and hearing their stories over and over again. I said, you know what? There's a lot that I like about this.
Right.
And so that turned into what we're doing right now, which is, I started advertising, and from the open houses, we had people say, well, I want this. I don't want this 900 square feet. I want a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 600 square foot. I want this, I want that. Can we do a garage? Can we do this? Can we do that? And so I've had, I think, over 100 Zoom meetings plus a whole bunch in person. And in the beginning, I said, gee, I don't know that I really know what I need to know to answer these questions. And just having done it so much now and having all those reps and working through so many technicalities with people, both their family, their lot, the septic system, the setbacks, the zoning, the law itself, and as it's changed, evolving, and all those things, I really feel like now, after, almost a year actually, I really feel like I really have a solid footing now to say to people, I'm 90% sure we can do this, I'm 60% sure we can do that. So now I feel like I don't feel like I'm an expert yet, but I feel like I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm getting there, and I feel like I know enough to be dangerous. So it's been a fun ride. And so one of the things that occurred as a sidebar, I was planning on building an ADU for my dad, and we just, as a family, we decided against it because he's very social. And we luckily found a place over at in Colony Place there off the back at Sawyer's Reach. Yeah, Sawyer's Reach, thank you. And we, I was able to purchase a unit there. And then I'm standing in the unit, and I said, now what? Okay, now what? and it popped into my head. I said, you know what? I'm gonna call you guys up. So I actually went on your website, sent a form in.
Yep.
And so everybody, a lot of people don't respond to forms. You got right back to me.
Yeah, how fast?
I want to say it was within 10 minutes.
I think it was 2 minutes, but
It was fast. It was fast.
It was pretty quick.
And I was like, okay, these guys are serious, right? So, when you see that, people are like, okay, these guys are serious, right? They're engaging. So, I gave you the floor plan, gave you the Matterport, then you came to the space. And then, we've already talked about this, came down and did the picking, you had the vignette ready for me and the little montage or board, if you will, design boards,
Yep.
and it was good. And then I started thinking, this question has come up now from people. They say, well, how's my furniture going to fit in here?
Right.
What's it going to look like? I really don't want to bring my old furniture. I want to get all new furniture. I want it to look a certain way. I wanted a certain feel to it. And that's when I said to you guys, both, I said, listen, let's take some of these plans and come up with some vignettes, if you will, or some, pre-made designs or packages to say, this is the Martha's Vineyard version, and this is the Nantucket version, and this is the, Cape version, or whatever it is. And, and then we were just talking off camera, and that was a great idea. So they make and we'll have to get a graphic for this, Kevin. They make an overhead projector now that we can display in your store at Colony Place. We're going to display the model, the floor plan in life size to scale on the floor, and then you're going to set up furniture so people can see how it would fit in the unit.
Be amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, and the beauty of that, because originally I was like, we got to build a model home. Yeah. But the beauty of this is now we can, as I develop new floor plans, or even crazier, I was just thinking this, right? So a customer comes and says, we want to make these changes in the plan. We put the projection of the plan, then you set up the furniture for them in their actual house.
It's going to be amazing.
Right?
Amazing.
And now they can be like, okay, I'm sitting in the living room. Okay, now I'm in the kitchen. Okay, now I'm in the bedroom. Okay, this is where this is going to go. Okay, yeah, my bureau will fit here.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's wild.
It's
But
wild.
you could even drop a real unit into the store. Your smallest unit, literally, physically.
Bring it inside, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can make fake wall. We could make a couple
You can
walls.
drop a unit in.
No, I know, and I thought
We've done that before.
Of course, one of our many things we did is we did a hotel.
Oh, you built a model room for the hotel.
Three of them. In a warehouse.
Yeah.
Literally down to every last detail.
But we could do easy walls.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Well,
but I still like.
Yeah, no, I like that because it's so adjustable.
It's so adjustable.
Right? Mrs. Smith's coming by, boom, we put her floor plan, and you take some furniture and move it around. Right? That's pretty cool.
And we're cutting edge. See, this is
that's nobody's doing that.
No,
nobody's doing
the cutting edge thing drives me wild. It's just
No, we're doing that for sure, 100%. Yeah, we'll figure out how to do it, but we're gonna do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on Amazon in a minute and order. You know that, so
it's actually a company that does it.
Yeah,
it's I don't know if you've ever been to those art shows where all the walls and ceilings.
Of course. Yeah.
It's the same projector system as that.
Sounds expensive.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Kevin's already looking up the price.
I'll keep going. I'll keep going until I run out of money.
Yeah. Hey, I love you. This is great. This is how I feel too.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's exciting. So, but then also, so now we're gonna have that in-store experience, which is fantastic, and that's what I just love about working with people that like think outside the box, like that whole. So a week ago I was like, how am I gonna build a model home? And I'm like, you know what? Because I knew what was going to happen. People come and like, yeah, it's great. It's 900 square feet, but we want to see the 600 square feet.
Yes, of course.
Right?
Yes.
And so it's like, how many model homes can I have?
Well, we solved that problem, didn't we?
Absolutely.
100%.
That was like,
I love it.
That's like lights out. Like,
right.
And do you even know at High Point Market, we literally were shopping for you.
So High Point Market
finding
is down
smaller
in North
scale
Carolina,
furniture
right.
that'll fit in your ADUs.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
So
You had a whole team. You didn't even know it.
yeah.
While I was sleeping, you guys were making it happen.
Right?
So we don't. No, I know it. That was up.
Yeah. So then take that to the next level. So now they've seen the furniture in their unit, right? Now, as the unit's under construction, now you can come and see it in real life.
Yep.
Right? Hold up the swatches for the, the window treatments.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, right? The decorating, the artwork.
Yeah.
And all that. So that's going to be. I'm really excited by that.
Me too.
Because that's absolutely where my talent runs out.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
100%.
And that's
when
what
I'm,
we pick up.
That's why you got us.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic because when I'm doing floor plans with people, I will drop in like a couch and a bed just to show that it will fit.
Yeah.
But it's not what you guys do, right? So now I can say, okay, we've proven the concept.
Right.
Now we're going to put it on the floor,
Yeah.
and you're going to go to the store and you're going to try different furniture.
Yep. Can't wait.
That's wild.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that.
Too much fun.
Yeah. So obviously you guys have been doing business for a long time, 20 years. This is your 20th year.
It is.
So now we're going to go. So any parting. So we're going to go in a lightning round in a minute.
Okay.
So, but any last comments about setting the space and, things that people maybe don't know about setting the space?
Well, our latest venture, as you know, is the whole boutique thing. We got into the women's clothing because of a couple reasons. So first of all, the dirty little secret is we've been selling clothing out of our stores for many, many years. So we knew it was a quick little add-on. But when I say we were selling clothing, we had a little tiny rack and that was it. Yeah. So last year we decided to take, I don't even know how big that space is up there, but it's a whole dedicated space.
Yeah, I think it's 2,000 square feet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
At least.
Yeah, I think it's 2,000.
So we decided to put the boutique inside the store. My concept is, as we travel everywhere, whether it's in the States or whether it's throughout Europe, and where we first saw it was when we were in California and we went into this cool department store, but it was different than just a regular department store. And they had all of these different rooms that had all of this different types of concepts in it. And I think that's where it's stuck in my mind. Right. So we put it in the boutique, and that has been huge, like so successful. Everyone is talking about it, and yet there's a lot of people who don't know it's there. So I think that's our little secret, our little hidden gem, right? Is the whole boutique situation. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think people don't know that if you need one little piece of furniture, I'll help you all day long. If you need a house done on an island in the Caribbean, we're going. It doesn't matter. Just we're approaching.
That's episode number 3. We'll talk about the Caribbean.
No, I want to buckle and brace that because I agree. Like, I called you out of the blue. You didn't say to me how big is the order or how many rooms is it.
We don't.
You're just like, okay, yeah, come on down.
Yep.
Right? We'll be open. Look at it. And you didn't pre-qualify me to say, do you have any money?
Nope.
None of that
We
stuff.
don't do
right?
that.
So our theory was this. When we first started the company, we wanted to help everybody. We also don't want to be known as the high end or the expensive, okay? Mm-hmm. Yes, we cater and we can do, but the thing is that the first thing we wanted to do was to give free design work. I always say to people, if they hear the word designer, they see many dollar signs. Yeah. And there are people who sway away from it because they feel that they cannot afford it. We offer free design services, and it's to anybody, and that's what we want. We want everybody to have the exact same services with no care of how much money you're going to spend or how little you're going to spend, right? True. And that's been the whole concept of setting the space. Yep. You need one piece of furniture, we're there for you. You need just a rug, we're there for you. And you need a whole house, we're there for you as well. And we want, and the whole thing with the quality of the furniture and the dollar amount of the furniture is we are all over the board. So it's not that we only have high-end stuff.
No, I did notice that. I was, perusing some of the price tags and there's
it's important though.
Yeah, everybody has a different budget.
Yeah,
right?
But we want you all to come to Setting the Space.
100%.
We want to help everybody at Setting the Space, don't we?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so lightning round.
Okay.
And you're going to have to each answer the question.
Oh, geez.
Great.
Okay, separately.
Okay.
So, favorite tool you can't live without, and it can't be your phone.
Tape measure.
Tape measure, all right.
Nothing digital. I want the real
old-fashioned tape measure.
Oh my God, I can't play this game. It's too, nobody, what's my favorite tool? I don't know.
Your phone.
My phone, but it keeps that.
Can't be your phone. Can't be your
That's
phone.
a very good question, boss.
No, it's too much pressure. Next question. I'm not
all right. Industry trends you have noticed.
Oh my God.
Color. Saturation of color. And very mod bulbous furniture.
And mine is getting stuff very, very, very quick, very fast. They want it right away.
Yeah, and you've covered that. Yeah. All right, so dream project you'd love to work on.
Oh.
Every hotel lobby in the world. That's my dream.
I agree.
Yes, because they're all ugly.
Yeah.
Most of them are. And even I notice.
And they could be so beautiful.
Even I notice.
And restaurants. I want to introduce the restaurants. Yeah, because we love to eat. So every time we go to restaurants, we're looking for really beautiful restaurants. And when people ask us to do restaurants, we want to emulate it because it's important.
Yeah. So you always have your head on a swivel. You're always looking for the next thing.
Yeah, everywhere.
All right, but your dream project.
Is restaurants. So
Okay, all right. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
mine is just do it. It's just do it.
Stop taking it so seriously.
Love that.
But I can't.
That's a good one. That's a good
It's
one.
the Will Show. I love
Yeah.
it.
Advice you would give your younger self?
Oh my God.
Don't take it so seriously.
I was going to say the same
No
thing.
repeats.
Yeah.
No repeats.
I know it. I was going to say the same thing. Just don't worry about it.
Cut the crap.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, now a fun one. Favorite food and favorite dessert?
Oh, geez.
I know mine. Chicken parm.
That was going to be mine.
Uh-oh. And banana cream pie.
That's
Banana cream pie. All right.
my
I haven't
favorite.
had a piece of that in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Where's the best place? Best place for banana cream pie.
Oh, you got to have it homemade. Somebody make it
Oh,
for you.
okay.
There is nowhere.
I
I
love
guess,
a good,
I guess we're not going to get any.
No.
yeah, a good fillet.
Of course, yeah.
And what was
Dessert.
Yeah.
What's your favorite dessert? I mean, no, the time.
I don't either.
Key lime pie.
Yeah. I was just
What about you?
for me, strawberry shortcake.
Were you just in the Keys, are you saying?
Yeah. Yeah, it was
What
fun.
part?
Right. We stay right on the end, right
Oh.
on Wall Street.
We
Yeah.
haven't been there in years.
Favorite place.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
fun.
God.
We had a lot of fun. The whole family went.
Oh, my
Nice.
God.
Yeah, we love it.
It's too much fun.
Yeah, it is. We stay right at the end, right at the end, at the very end there, right on the end of Duval Street.
Oh, my God.
It's that was our 4th year going back.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really, and we love.
It's hard to leave, isn't it?
It is, and we have so much fun. We go to all the museums.
Of course.
I've been to that
Yeah.
butterfly
Yeah,
museum like
I remember
I
that.
don't know, like
Yeah.
20 times, and
Yeah.
it's just fun going through there.
Yep.
Yep.
But anyways, that was good. So that's a wrap for today's episode of the BuildX Podcast. Thanks to Blair and Will. That was a lot of fun from setting the space for joining us. Please subscribe, like, and share if you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next week. And remember, just build, baby.
Love it.